Good morning, everyone. How are you all doing? Welcome back to my channel, and for today, we have a skill practice which is the crow stand. All right, crow stand is a really good way to introduce hand balancing to our practice where our body is really low off the ground and we are just now starting to balance with our two hands and learning how to play with our fingers. So, the way I'd like to teach this is I want you to think about your hands as controls. All right, this is not just a stand, although it's called a crow stand or a crow pose. It's not a pose. You do not just strike a pose and you stop there and take a photo of one half a second time that you hold it there. You actually want to be able to get in and out smoothly and actually to be able to control being in that position. All right? So think about your hands as controls where your fingertips are pressing forward and your heel of the hand is pressing down whenever you are tilting forward and you want to go back to the other side, or pressing the heel down if you feel like you're going to fall backwards and you want to come back forward. In a handstand practice, we call this under and over balance. So we are always playing around with that control. We are not actually just perfectly balanced all the time. It's not like that. It might look like that for really exceptional hand balancers because they've been so dedicated in the fine tuning of their technique and of their strength and their mobility and flexibility that you almost don't see any changes in their body as they do it so well. All right, so that's what we want to strive for even when we're doing the crow stand. And if you're not familiar with the crow stand, it can be borrowed from yoga, it can be like a frog stand in calisthenics, or an initial position for the handstand push-up. Let me show you first what I mean. So we're going to place the hands and we want to raise the hips, knees over the triceps or behind the elbow. And the way I like to do this is from a squat position. So I'm literally just shifting my weight forward and find my balance and come back the other way. All right. I know it sounds too simple to be true, and it is because it is not. First, in any hand balancing practice, we want to find our shoulder distance apart. And maybe if your shoulders are tight for this one, you might have to explore a little bit wider than shoulders, or maybe even externally rotating the hand to accommodate for your shoulder, feeling that nice strong stability since it's only going to be your powerhouse to hold your entire body weight. All right. Next, I want you to think about your fingers. You don't want to be closing the fingers down or spreading it out too wide where it feels tight on the wrist. You actually just want to open it enough that you can almost grip the ground and feel the whole palm of your hand pressing onto the ground. Okay? This in itself can be the whole practice because we're not used to standing on our hands just like on our feet. But if you actually try that on your feet, you can see that your feet is not static. And notice my knees are even bent. If I straighten it out, most of the weight now goes to the base of my feet, and it's working a lot to maintain balance. Exactly the same thing with our hands. We want to teach our hands to be able to support our weight in balance and be able to control if ever we're tilting forward or back and maintain that position. All right. Next, we are on a bent shoulder, or sorry, we are on a bent elbow, and you'll feel a lot of strength happening or work happening on your shoulder or front delts. And that's normal. In the beginning, it may be very hard because you don't have that strength yet if you don't do push ups or if you're not doing any um, forward lean work, then this might be in itself the work for you. And that's okay. The more you do this, the more strength you'll develop in this specific movement pattern. All right, next is the core. So people talk about the core a lot in a crow pose, but actually it's the scapula. So if I go on this angle, this is a neutral spine what we want to do is protract the shoulders. So we're reaching forward, creating a nice C shape on our upper back. And it's not just a C shape like this without strength. We actually want to push and expand our scapula to create that push and make the bigger muscles work than just our hands and our wrists. So from here, naturally, your core will start to engage, creating that tension on the lower body, on the lower core. And our knees are close to our body, so our pelvis start to tuck, and it's almost gonna feel natural you're doing so. What I just want you to focus on is that you're constantly pushing off the ground. All right? Imagine that you're pushing up and you're really pushing tall like this. Yep. It's a little bit hard to conceptualize. Better that you just go down to your hands and try to do it yourself. All right? Now, there's a lot of fear to mitigate here as well, or maybe some shame or embarrassment that you're going to fall flat on your face. It's not fun, it's not exciting to do that, and could be a deterrent for us to keep practicing this way. So, you might want to start with some books, some elevation or pillow onto your face so that even if you fall forward, there's something to catch you. All right, let me show you how that looks like. So I have two blocks here, depending on how fearful you are. If you're doing this for the first time, maybe start with two blocks, so quite a high elevation. Place your hands a little bit far away. You have to figure this out how. And you need to just start to place your head first to measure your distance. Okay, so maybe about here. And you can even start with your elbows hugging your knees hugging the elbows. And as I said in the beginning, we're just going to tilt forward and land the head there and just tilt back. So play around with this tilting, and the more you lean forward, the more you will feel that your hips, your feet is starting to get lighter and lighter. And that's maybe you can start to lift or remove one of the blocks. Maybe again measure how far it is from your head, and make sure you're also hugging the elbows with your knees or creating a shelf on your triceps so that your knees are on top of it. Okay. From here, even if your head is already on the block, you'll feel the tension and the strength that you have to use to maintain that position. First, you can start with placing your head there, pushing back, just like I did using my fingers. Press, 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 press. And now I'm pushing backwards. And that's already teaching us how to control using our finger pads. For a lot of people, we're not going to worry about the heels because we're mostly leaning backwards and we're not really tilting forward. But at the top of it, whenever you are already quite advanced, you'll see that you might have to press also on the heel of the hand or press down completely with the palms to make sure your weight distribution is solid. All right. Now, once you've gotten used with the frog stand where your elbow or your knees are outside the elbows, you can start to practice placing your knees on top of the triceps over here. And there's a spot there ideal for you where it is exactly that you're going to place your elbow or your knees. Play around with that. Not too high though, because this becomes a crane and a much harder exercise. So somewhere not on the elbow itself, but slightly higher. Measure your distance. Okay, somewhere there. And make sure your hands are stable. Bend on the elbow. Lift up the hips. Lean. And maybe point the toes. Push up. And you're on balance. For beginners, maybe it's going to take a ton of strength to get out from there. That's okay. If that's going to allow you to practice more safely. But eventually, you want to start from the backwards position, keeping the block there or the pillow there just for safety or just for a sense of, okay, I'm not going to face plant yet. So, again, tilting forward, triceps in, and lifting the bum, lifting one leg at a time. And now I'm playing with my hands to maintain balance. I'm looking a little bit forward. I don't want to look down. I want to look a little bit forward. And I want to keep a constant tension in my entire body. Tucking the toes, bringing the heel towards our glutes, pushing down. Everything is working. We don't want to relax even one bit in any parts of our body. Otherwise, everything's going to feel very, very heavy, and that's not what we want. All right? Eventually, you get more confident. You can remove the blocks altogether, and you can make this very, very interesting from here on out. So, find your crow. Okay, you can remove one knee, bring it back, other knee, bring it back, maybe lift it off completely, bring back, not today. And you'll see how I caught myself there from face planting. This is something you just develop, or maybe your body even knows exactly how to do. All right? Maybe you fall on your face. That's also okay. It's part of the practice. I would say even that the more you already expose yourself to the worst case scenario, of course, not getting hurt badly and injuring yourself and you cannot practice for long, but the more you expose yourself to the worst case scenario, at least the irrational ones, the faster that your body learns how to adapt to it. And then you don't have to worry about it anymore. Trust me, I've fallen quite a lot of times, enough to make me understand and know exactly what I'm talking about. And maybe it's just something that you're afraid of, maybe shame, maybe your ego, but there's really nothing wrong about it. There's nothing to be embarrassed about falling on your face or being clumsy about it. We all start there. So I hope you learned something, and I hope you can transfer this practice to what you're currently doing, or maybe as you progress and be more and more confident about this, you can start exploring how to do a handstand. And I've done a really long series on how many steps we can take or progressions we can do to get to a handstand practice. Check it out here in the link here. All right. I'll see you guys in the next videos. Thank you so much for being here. If you have any specific questions, leave a comment or send me a DM and let's talk about it. Peace and love, guys. Ciao.